Okay, I want to start up the next unit, which is going to be our history unit. And I just want to show folks a little bit of what we're going to be doing and how you can undertake the work from the start with the readings and the watching the videos. So what the essay is going to be on. Okay, I want to get started with the next unit, the history unit, which is going to be focused on this documentary Shoah. And you should have by now the book and everything, because we're going to need this, especially with citing sources and things like that. Okay, so if you do have it and you want to read it, it is a fairly quick read. I'm only going to focus in the class on certain segments of this. But many students in the past have read through it. It actually reads quite rapidly. It's about 175 or so pages, but it reads much more quickly. So you can read the whole thing if you'd like to, and write about any part of it if you want to. But I'll be very clear with this. This is about an 8.5-hour movie, about almost 9 hours. You don't need to watch the whole thing. So I do want you watching segments of it that I've posted, and starting off with Simon Srebnick and Michael Plotnik, I believe his name is pronounced. Starting off with those and watching the way they remember what happened, along with the villagers, one of the Polish villagers. So I want you to watch certain segments and go through it, and it does move kind of slowly. I want to make you aware of that. It does move slowly. But the maker of the film, Claude Lanzmann, is trying to take these witnesses back to where the Holocaust happened, back to where the camps were established throughout Europe, and mostly throughout Poland and Lithuania and other areas, and tries to get them to remember what was happening. He also talks to Franz Sukomel, who was one of the guards at a place called Treblinka, about what happened there. Now, he does not take Franz Sukomel back there, but in fact he records him in his own home secretly. So we'll go through that, and I'll walk you through it. So I do want you to watch these segments where they go through it. Now, we do have the essay is going to be due next Friday, okay? So on the 19th. But I want you to first focus on the movie, get the testimony down, and decide what segments of it you want to write on, okay? So let me go to the assignment quickly. So it's testimonies in Shoah, and this is what we're going to be doing, but I don't want you to jump into it just yet. You're going to once again be writing a 6-paragraph essay that examines the testimonies in the film of Shoah using either the Jewish, Polish, or German witnesses. You can decide which ones you want to deal with, okay? And you're going to isolate specific points in the film that deal with events at Treblinka, Auschwitz, or the Jewish uprising. Do not try to cover the entire film. That's not what we're going to do. And you're also, I want to be very clear, you are not writing a report on the Holocaust, okay? One thing I want to be very clear from the beginning. We're neither trying to prove or disprove anything like that. What we're trying to do is give an insight into select testimonies. Now, you may remember from the early videos that what we tried to do with Antigone was try to give an insight into what was going on in Greek theater using select moments from throughout the play. And that's what we're doing here with history. We're doing that with the historical source of Shoah. Now, a very important idea to have in mind with history is that they have in history this notion of primary and secondary sources. Primary sources are people who were present at the events that are being examined. People who were present at the events being examined. Secondary sources are being written by people much or after the events took place, who are examining the different sources and looking at them and putting together a narrative to explain what was going on and to give an insight into them. So Shoah is really a primary source. And other sources, people writing about the Holocaust, even something as simple as Wikipedia, those are secondary sources. I don't want you to go to secondary sources because they get you away from the nature of the assignment. Always keep in mind that what we're doing is practicing analysis. And this is close, careful reading of the sources. In this case, we're going to the testimonies of people who were present at different locations from throughout the period we know as the Holocaust, which were several different sites. Now, so that's what we're doing. That's the purpose of it. So the purpose is not to write a research report. We're not doing that, okay? We're trying to examine the testimonies of select witnesses at various locations throughout the Holocaust, okay? So you can do Treblinka, Auschwitz, or the Jewish uprising, which happens later on. So you can do any one of those and pick and just get a focus on it, and then start examining and looking at the words and the phrases and how they discuss it and what goes on with it, okay? So a little bit of background I do want to give you, but I don't want you worry too much about looking into this too much. You can on your own. This is obviously a fascinating and very important period in world history. But just so folks know a little bit about it, some people misunderstand it. This is Germany right here. We're in Europe. This is Europe. And Germany's right here. This is Poland. At the time they were slightly different. Again, I realized that World War II from the 1930s and 1940s was organized slightly differently. But many of the camps, in fact, I'd say the majority were in Poland at the time, or Lithuania. You're going to hear about Vilna and other places. Vilna was around here. Chelmno was where we start off, is right in the center of Poland. Auschwitz is down at the bottom. That's where these camps were located. And you're going to get a sense from the videos early on. And let me go to the videos, and so you know how to use them. So the course videos are here. And the Shoah videos are here. You go into the Shoah videos, and you're going to see several of them. Now, the Sukomo videos are broken up because they're scattered throughout the entire movie. Again, the whole movie is about 8.5 to 9 hours. I've found a site that actually plucks the Sukomo testimonies out, and so I've done that for you. I've posted those. So in the full movie, that's spread throughout different segments of the movie, and it's tough to actually focus and isolate it. So I fortunately found a source that does it. So you can do that and go through the Sukomo ones. And again, he was one of the guards at Treblinka, and I'll talk about him in a bit. But the first one here is, and you can play the videos within the website, excuse me, within Blackboard. I would urge you to open it up so you can watch it in a larger screen. One of the things that he does, he gives a little bit of background at the start, but one of the things that Landsman does is he takes the witnesses, when he can, back to the locations. Now this is Simon Srebnick, and you get him back in Chelmno, being taken back to the river where he used to actually have to sing and was forced to sing for the German guards at Chelmno. And Landsman has him sing for them today. And the reason he's doing this, he's trying to take the witnesses back as much as he can to what happened. And you can see that this is him, this was back in, I believe, the late 70s. He was 47 by that time. So late 70s, early 80s or so. And he has them sing and go through it. Now, you're going to hear several languages, but this one is actually captioned in English. You're going to hear them talking German, French, Polish, and others, but it's always captioned in English. So it is a little bit slower, but I'm just going to ask that you be patient with it. He also goes through Vilna and a few others and walks through. This is, at least in the late 70s and 80s, this was Chelmno at the time. And what it looked like, which is it was still there. This is Michael Plotchnik. I believe I'm mispronouncing it, but he talks about it. Watch the way they remember it. And you'll notice he's talking about what happened with him, and he's smiling. And it's very odd. And he was one of the very few Jewish survivors from it. And he goes to Vilna and a few of the others. I'm only going to ask you to go through the first 26 minutes of this on what was going on. You don't have to go through the entire thing, okay? And this is only half of it. This one's over 4.5 hours long. But I'm only going to ask you to go through the first 26 minutes of this first segment. The other one, Sukhumel, you're going to see, he goes to Sukhumel's Pleasant Day house, and he records him without Sukhumel's knowledge, and gets Sukhumel to talk about it and go through it in some detail. So, and you can see they are doing this secretively. And you've got to understand, in one sense, it's an invasion of his privacy. In another sense, you have to keep in mind, this man was present at one of the most horrendous mass murders in history. Does he have the right to actually keep what happened to so many millions of people private? About 5.3 million Jews were killed in this. Does he have the right to keep this private? Landsman clearly decided no. I would agree with him. So Sukhumel talks about it and goes through it, and watch the way he remembers it. And I want you to watch the way they remember it. They actually disagree on some of the facts, on some of the things. You'll also get, so these are broken into small 8-minute segments. And then you get Abraham Bamba, who was a survivor of Treblinka and is currently a barber in Israel. And again, once again, it is very, now this one's captioned in French, but Bamba speaks English. Bamba cut hair at the camps, in the gas chambers before the women and children, and also, well, most of the women and children were put to death. And he takes him as a current barber into a salon and has him talk about it. And you might think about why he's doing all this. So go through it and describe it carefully and what's going on. So do your best with it. Now, I've taken the ghetto testimony off of a requirement, but if you want to go through it, you are welcome to do it. But this is the second half of the movie. You can go to 4 hour and 22.
Want to be done.
Way up. So Raoul Hilberg is a contemporary historian. So start working through these and follow along with it in the book Shoah, okay? And start just working through it and observing what's going on. It is mostly visual, but also I want you to notice the testimony itself. What are they saying? And write your descriptions, your summaries of what is going on. And those will get you ready for the essays. I will be posting a draft worksheet for you to work through it and get your sources together. For right now, focus on describing the testimonies of Srebnik and Podschlebnik and the villagers. Watch the way they talk about it. And there's subtle differences in how they do it. Both sides are revealing certain things and talking about certain things, but both sides are withholding certain things and have forgotten certain things. Landsman tries to push them, but also allows them to forget right in front of you. They're forgetting and covering things up for dramatically different reasons. People are doing that. People do that. They actively forget. And Landsman will at times push to get people to remember, but also will allow you to watch them as they forget. So watch the way he does that, and watch the way people remember the ways they forget and the reasons why they forget. So the last note I want to give you is to avoid stereotyping anybody at all. Avoid stereotyping, obviously, the Jews throughout this, the Jewish survivors. Do not I hope I don't need to remind people of that. That's one of the most horrendous forms of prejudice that there is. To stereotype either the Jewish survivors, the Polish villagers, or the Germans who are in this movie, or you have Sukhumel primarily, who's one of the guards. You don't want to make general judgments on whole groups of people. Understand that these were individuals, but also be very clear about the nature of what's going on. Don't sugarcoat anything. This was a horrific time period, and people did things that we often don't want to recognize and talk about. So just go with it. As you go through it, avoid stereotyping, but also avoid sugarcoating things. Try to be very clear and very blunt about things, and watch the way they remember, but also be aware of how people forget. Okay? All right, good luck with this. Go ahead and start working through these. Make sure you do have the Shoah testimony, the Shoah book, and work through it. And good luck with this. And I'll be posting a new lesson pretty soon. All right, take care.